Business. We're joined by Yuka right in the studio. Good evening to you.
Hi, Mark.
Someone who may be about to become the richest prison inmate in the United States. The former head of Binance has been sentenced to 4 months in prison.
That's right. Well, a judge in Seattle has handed a prison sentence to Changpeng Zhao, the billionaire founder and former CEO of the world's largest crypto exchange, for violating US money laundering laws. Before the sentencing, Zhao told the court that he had failed and that he was sorry. Prosecutors had accused Binance of not reporting more than 100,000 suspicious transactions with groups such as Hamas, Al-Qaeda and ISIS. They said that Zhao deliberately looked the other way as people supported child sex abuse, illegal drug trade and terrorism on the platform. Last November, he pleaded guilty and resigned as CEO. He also paid $50 million in fines. Binance, meanwhile, the company agreed to pay $4.3 billion in criminal penalty, Mark.
So turning from crypto money to real money, Zimbabwe has a new currency.
It's called ZiG, Mark. It was introduced digitally earlier this month, but has just gone into circulation in cash form. Now, the Southern African nation has struggled to recover ever since the spectacular collapse of the Zimbabwe dollar back in 2009. Here's Vedika Bahel with more.
It's official. The world's newest currency, the ZiG, is now in circulation. Short for Zimbabwe gold, the ZiG is backed by the country's gold reserves and was introduced electronically by the government last month. As Zimbabweans queued up to finally get their banknotes and coins, there's hope after weeks of no real money in circulation.
Now it'll be easier to get change without buying things I don't need. With US dollars, we'd be forced to get salt to match as change.
However, some remain skeptical.
I'm scared people will con me because I don't understand its value. We need someone who can teach us.
It's the country's latest attempt to rectify over a decade in a currency crisis, with the ZiG being the sixth currency used since 2009's collapse of the Zimbabwe dollar, one of the world's worst currency crashes that saw hyperinflation of 5 billion%. For many, the US dollar is still the most trusted legal tender and prized on the black market, though authorities have cracked down on bootleg currency dealers. But analysts say it will take time for trust in the ZiG to build.
It's really up to government to be able to sustain itself and to be able to be disciplined, that they will stay away from the printing press, and then people will slowly and gradually begin to accept the local currency, and then there will not be any need for any alternative market.
However, despite the government's hardline approach, the ZiG isn't accepted nationwide. Some businesses like petrol stations and even the country's official passport office have refused to accept it, still favouring US dollars.
Now, the big question for Yuka, how are the markets today?
Well, US stocks had a bad day, capping a bad month. They accelerated the decline in the final hour of trading. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed down 570 points lower, or 1.5%, while the Nasdaq fell more than 2%. Now, this as new government data showed US wages rose more than expected, 1.2% in the last quarter. While that's good news for workers, it increased concern about inflation staying high, just as the US Federal Reserve decides on its next interest rate move on Wednesday.
Microsoft next, announcing a big investment plan in Indonesia.
Well, Chief Executive Satya Nadella said that the company would invest $1.7 billion over the next 4 years to new cloud and artificial intelligence infrastructure in Indonesia. He made the announcement in Jakarta, the first stop of his tour of Southeast Asia, where he also met with the country's president, Joko Widodo. The plan includes AI training for 840,000 people. Indonesia is home to the third largest developer community in the Asia Pacific after India and China. Earlier this month, Microsoft also announced it would invest $2.9 billion on AI and cloud in Japan. Here's the CEO speaking earlier.
Right here in Indonesia, we are seeing tremendous growth. In fact, over the last couple of years, we've seen 2x growth in software developers in Indonesia. We have, in fact, I think Indonesia is going to be number 5 globally by 2026, so it's going to be exciting. We will have the world-class training inference infrastructure, whether it's NVIDIA, whether it's AMD or Microsoft's own Maya chips.
Microsoft on a charm offensive there. I mean, it's natural. It's a very populous nation as well, Indonesia.
Thank you very much indeed. Yuka Roy there with all the business.